Welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show. Today we're joined by one of the most iconic names in fragrance, Jo Malone, CBE, from mixing scents in her kitchen to building a globally recognised brand. Jo's journey is one of creativity, resilience and reinvention. In this conversation, we'll dive into why she sold Jo Malone London, how her cancer diagnosis reshaped her outlook, and what inspired her move to Dubai. We're so excited to welcome her on the show. Welcome to the Lovin Dubai show, Jo Malone.
Thank you guys. Really happy to be here.
You smell fantastic.
Well, I hope so. I hope. Wouldn't that be awful if I came in and smelled terrible?
We just got a whiff of the scent.
It was that was. I always need a bottle near me, and this was the one I created when I came to move to Dubai. So it's about the sun rising every morning and the sun setting, and the adventure of life that we have in between every single day. So I thank God so much that I came here. But she's called Sun-Kissed Orange.
It smells incredible.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
It's absolutely delightful.
It's got a slightly
really stunning,
but it's the skin of an orange.
I'm getting the notes right now. I love it. Okay, let's start from the very beginning, from your early days. It's a very inspiring story that every hustler in Dubai gets inspired by. But what inspired you to start creating fragrances from your kitchen? Did you ever imagine it growing into a global brand?
No, never. I mean, I think I came from very humble background. There wasn't a lot of money in our house. So I was kind of the adult from the age of 11. I had two very creative parents. My mum was in the beauty industry, which is where I learnt about formulations and skincare and fragrance. And my father was a brilliant artist, a magician. He was part of the magic circle. He was also a huge gambler. So these three things, and my childhood was very much, I was always at his side. And I've never gambled in my life. That was one thing I learnt. But all the other very creative things about my father, I learnt how to sell paintings in a market. I learnt the excitement of magic as part of life and entertainment, and all of those things. You know, nothing is wasted in our life. Nothing. We always sometimes come full circle, and you know, people listening. Sometimes something happens to you. Don't worry about that, because eventually you'll learn from it or you'll win. Either way.
So interesting, and I'm so glad you mentioned magic, because with your original brand, Jo Malone, there is a sense of magic. So of course it's the beautiful scents, but it's also just that feeling of the gift that everyone wants in their home, maybe on Christmas, or a mother-in-law wants to receive, or or you receive on your wedding day, for example. It's such a brand that's a scent as well as the magic, and I just wonder, the business and the branding aspects, were they instinctual to you?
Well, as you know, I'm not part of that brand any longer, so I'm actually not really allowed to talk about that brand.
Okay.
I can talk about the past, but I can't be a spokesperson for that. But just looking at my life as a whole, I think making people smile, making people feel that they're happy, making people feel that you're giving them something that you have created from either storytelling or an experience or something. It makes people smile, and I love that. I love being in the shop, and someone will say to me, "Jo, can you sign my box or my bag?" And it just makes me so happy to think my life. As a little girl, I was told I was lazy and stupid because I was dyslexic, severely, still am. And I think, look what I've done. Look what I've done with my life.
That's incredible. So, the moment you decided to sell Jo Malone London, and obviously you can share as much or as little as you want, but that must have been an emotional and pivotal moment in your life. What led to that decision to sell the brand, and how did it feel letting go of it?
Well, it was 5 years almost to the day that we opened that shop door, and we sold. And we had, on the first day of opening, I had somebody offer me $1 million to sell my brand that day. We hadn't even been open 24 hours. So I knew that... I know. And it was either a journalist for a story, it was either somebody seeing, where I stood, or it was the real thing. But I never saw that man again. He never came back. And I said, thank you very much, but no thank you. And in that 5 years, I learned what retail really was about and what it was to be a shopkeeper. Because I always say I'm a shopkeeper. That's what I do. But when you have success, there's a part of in your business where you're pouring money into it. And then when you start to take a brand globally, you then have to set up in each territory. You need support, you need staff, you need PR, you need marketing. And so that pool of money that you put aside gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And so then what happens is your growth starts to backfire because you can't roll it out in the way that you want to. And so I think we'd reached that point, and Gary's my business partner and my husband. And we were just two young kids, and it was like, what are we going to do? Do we slow the growth down? But we'd put so much energy into getting it sort of rolling. So when we sold, and I can remember it was October, we flew out to New York City to sign the deal. The airline had lost all my luggage, and so I was standing in a tracksuit, ready to sign the biggest deal of my life. And thank goodness the Gap came to the rescue. And we signed the deal, and I thought I was going to stay forever. And again, another big lesson in life and business. The landscape can change. I mean, look at the world we're living in right now. The landscape can change in a second. And so think ahead. Think, your biggest dreams, think ahead and ask yourself, what if I could? And what if this happens? Those are the big questions when you're bringing in a partner for a business, or you're selling an acquisition. Think of those questions. And mine was, I'll stay forever. And of course, I haven't, and I didn't. And if only I had thought about some of those questions, I might have signed a very different deal than I did. But I don't regret it. I don't regret it for a second.
Wow, it's so interesting, and it's so interesting how you said that life can happen in a second, and there's no regrets because you've gone on to build some incredible brands, which we'll get to. But also, in the midst of it all, you faced a cancer diagnosis.
Yes. Yeah.
And I just wonder, did that shape your perspective at any point, and how you looked at your business and your life? Absolutely,
it did. So I was 38 years old. I had just had my son, who's now 24. But he was a little tiny. He looked like little Harry Potter. He had little glasses on. He was the cutest little thing in the world. And I was filming in New York, and I just felt so tired the whole time, like really bone tired. Do you know what I mean when you say that? And I found a lump in my breast in the shower that morning. And I went home, went to the doctor, and I was rushed into hospital for a scan. And I could see that night when they were looking at the scan, I saw the nurse go out and she said, I'll be back in 2 minutes. And I knew, absolutely knew. And within 7 days, I was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of breast cancer and told to actually get my life in order. So I didn't have long to live. And I remember going home and thinking, my life changed within hours. And there I was, with everything in the palm of my hand. And then suddenly, just cancer diagnosis just whipped it all away from me. Anyway, what I decided to do was not listening to the doctors. I'd never listened to anyone in my life tell me how I was going to live my life. And I wasn't going to let someone tell me when I was going to die. And if I had 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, I was going to make the most of it. I went to New York City, and I had the most incredible doctor. Thank you, Dr. Larry Norton. I thank him all the time because without him, I wouldn't be sitting here with you at all. And I walked in and he said to me, there are 2 women that walk into this room. One says, don't hurt me. And one says, I want to live no matter what. Which one are you? Well, I was the latter. And I started, I had my surgeries and it got worse and worse. And then I did my chemo. And then we got to the end of the chemotherapy. And I had to do it all over again because they found something in the other breast. So I had to do everything all over again. And at the end, my body was to the wire, without a doubt. And then he walked in one day and he said, it's gone today. You must go back and you must live your life now. And it was like, what life? And what I told no one is in the second bout of chemo, it had taken my smell. And I was too embarrassed and ashamed to tell. And I didn't tell Larry, didn't tell Gary. Certainly didn't tell the Estee Lauder Corporation. And that was one of the big reasons I left, because I thought I can't live my life pretending I can smell if I can't. And so I left, walked down the road, and then the irony, it came back a month later after I had signed all the deal. I'd walked away, had a 5-year lockout, non-compete, and I woke up one morning and my sense of smell came back like in a second. And I could smell like 2 floors down in our house. I knew that someone had opened the fridge door. I could smell a wet wall, which about 6 weeks later we had a flood come flying through the wall. I could smell everything, and at that point, that's when I really went through anxiety, because the one thing I could do brilliantly, and I'd taken myself out of the game, and what was I going to do? And for that 5-year lockout, that was pretty uncomfortable. But I just had to tell you something so nice. With my cancer diagnosis, Larry came to Dubai a few months ago, and we had dinner together. And he sat there, and he's the most incredible. If anyone was going to play him, it would be someone like Stanley Tucci. He looks like Stanley Tucci. And he sat there and he said, I have to tell you something now. And I said, yes, Larry, thinking, oh, what's he going to tell me? And he said, when you walked into my treatment room all those years ago, I knew you wouldn't survive. You had such an aggressive form of cancer. But he had been working on a protocol, a very different protocol, dose density chemotherapy, so lots of chemo but in smaller doses and with very extreme drugs. I was allowed to choose 30 women, he said, and I chose you to be one of the first. None of you would have survived. Today, every single one of those women are alive. Isn't that incredible? Wow. And so if you're going through breast cancer treatment or you've just been diagnosed, there's many, many of us who have gone before you. And the hope that you'll recover and go on and claim your lives is due to wonderful people who put time into research. So yeah, I'm incredible. I just very positive end of a story.
Wow, what an inspiring story of survival, really. I have to ask, how did you cope for those 5 years? Because you're a creative person, you're running a massive business, and then that no compete must have just. So where did you take yourself? Did you travel? Did you relax?
I didn't relax at all. I'm a grafter. I love to be busy. I love traveling. I sat on a beach for about 6 weeks and then got very bored, and I just thought, I can't do this. So I made a television show called High Street Dreams, which was helping entrepreneurs build their businesses. But I loved it, but it wasn't the thing that really made Joe. I helped with charities, I helped with all kinds of breast cancer, all kinds of different things. But all I could think about was creating a bottle of that every single day. And I would have these thoughts in my mind. I couldn't even walk through a department store where there was cosmetics because I would cry. Because all I wanted to do was touch the face cream and smell it and go, I would add jojoba and avocado. I mean, my mind just thought like that. And that's when anxiety took over, without a doubt, because I couldn't control. I felt like I'd lost all sense of control of my life. But I'd signed a deal and I'd taken the money and I'd sold my business. So a 5-year lockout was completely, it's what you expect. You can't have it both ways. Mm-hmm. So a 5-year lockout is one thing. A lifetime is completely another.
Mm-hmm. And what made you decide to move to Dubai? I feel like, was that an unexpected choice that you had to make?
I needed to change something in my life. I really did. I got this. I've been here 4 years now. Never going back to the UK. This is my home, and I mean, you must feel the same. I love being here. I love everything that it offers, and but I was suffering from anxiety. I think the thing to do with my name is really hard every day, because if you call my name, I'm going to turn. That's the name I was born with, and it's the name I've lived for 60 years of my life with. So it's very difficult. And yet I had this responsibility. And that's, you know, that sometimes creates huge anxiety for me because I'm often questioning. I mean, even before this interview, we have to go through this ridiculous cat and mouse conversation. But if you sell your name, I'm afraid this is, you know, until the law changes, this is what we have to live with. But why did I come to Dubai? I was sitting by the pool one day. I'd come just for a rest. And I looked up and I thought, Joe, you've got to change something. You can't just keep doing the same thing. You've got to change something. You've got to switch it up. And I always have had this dream that you know me for the sense of smell, but there's another 4 senses. Could I actually build other businesses? Because I'm really good at building businesses and creating. And building businesses creates jobs. And that's what creates revenue. That's what creates wealth. It isn't politicians that create jobs. It's entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. We do. That's what we do. But all we want is the right environment. And I looked up and I saw people jumping out of a plane. It was, is it Sky Dubai?
Dubai.
Yeah, exactly. And a month before, I hadn't even been able to walk out my front door in my house. I was so panicked by panic. You know, it wasn't real. Mm. And I said to my husband, shall we come here and live just for 6 months, just to see what the opportunity is? I mean, maybe just switching it up. And he said, I'd love to. I mean, he's like a Boy Scout. He loves adventure. Yeah, I said, yeah, I'd love to. And so I said, tomorrow we're going to jump from that plane and seal the deal. And we did. And
that's incredible.
From going from severe anxiety to sitting with my legs dangling out of a plane, attached to Tariq, the Egyptian rugby player, nothing was going to happen on his shift. And I went, oh, I've changed my mind, Tariq. Tariq is the guy. I went, too late, honey, push me. And off we went. We free fall for 8,000 feet. And then he pulled the parachute. And I promise you, I have never felt anxiety. That was 4 years ago, in the same way. Ever again. Whatever happened, I left in that plane. Wow. And as I landed, I knew that I had to grab this opportunity. And living here in Dubai, it is a banquet of opportunity. And don't wait to be invited to sit at the table. Just pull up a chair and sit and be part of something that is growing, that is changing the world. So, and so I'm on my mission to find the other 4 senses.
I'm blown away by that skydive story, I really am.
Have you ever done it?
Never.
Too anxious. Too anxious to do it.
I just do it once in your life. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But you confront something in you. And actually, we don't all have to jump out of a plane. Mm. But sometimes pushing yourself into the thing that you fear the most, and often it can be failure. That's what we fear the most, isn't it? You push yourself in and you realise, actually, failure isn't the worst thing that could happen. Mm-hmm. Sitting and doing nothing is.
So true, so true. And sitting and doing nothing, you did not.
No.
You went on to create numerous more brands. Can you speak to us first on Joe Loves and how it reflects you as a person today?
So Joe Loves is just my love letter back to life. And she provided for me a pathway back in to build my confidence. And I just can't not create fragrance for the rest of my life, that I do know. But she's taught me a lot. It was building Joe Loves was harder than building Joe Malone London, much harder, probably because there was very little naivety and we knew all the pitfalls and we knew the lumps and bumps in the road.
Can we speak a little bit on that as to, one would think it would be an easy step for you. So can you speak on the details as to what was challenging in the early days of Joe Loves?
I was so desperate to get back into the industry. And once you've had that taste of a global brand, it's like honey. It's like a honey you've never tasted and you remember that taste and that feel. So I came back always to build a global brand again. But I rushed back in, I got the packaging wrong. In my book, if you look, there's the packaging in the beginning it was awful. It was, I don't even know what was even going through my head. I was trying to be so different that it wasn't me at all. And of course, what did I do? I ordered 1 million bottles. it was just horrendous, absolutely horrendous. So we were down 1 million before we even started. And my husband kept saying, slowly, no, I've got to get there, I've got to do it. You know, very impetuous. Got the distribution wrong, got the team wrong. I don't know, and I spent about a year saying, I want to quit. And I'm not a quitter. I want to quit, I want to stop, let's close it down. I felt humiliated, that I'd humiliated myself. And he would say, one more day, one more day, one more month, one more year. And now I look at Joe Loves, and for my birthday, you know, he gave me the keys to a shop. Do you know the significance of that? So it was where I had my first job in at 16. So I returned all the way back to where I started. I walked through the door and I thought, this is where I had my job at 16 years old. And it was an entrepreneurial delicatessen. And so I walked in and I felt this place go, you'll change the world again in this place. But it won't be easy. And from the minute we got 42 Elizabeth Street, I walked in and I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to build the world's first fragrance tapas bar. And he looked at me and he went, I think I might divorce you if you carry on like this. And we did build the world's first fragrance tapas bar, shot candles, so everything was twisted and differently. So it is a learning curve, but retail is a learning curve. And the minute you sit back on your haunches and you say to yourself, we've done it, that's dangerous. Every day we have to recreate ourselves and think, okay, we did it brilliantly today and yesterday, but tomorrow we have to make ourselves better and better and better, and you know, have to push yourself.
And tapping into that, what would you say are some of the hardest moments in your career, like throughout your entire life?
My name definitely has been one of the hardest things. Not creating fragrance for 5 years. What were the other hard? I can't think of a lot of other hard things.
Did you turn any of those obstacles into stepping stones later on?
Sometimes you have to, as you're crossing a river, don't stand on one stone, stand on two. Straddle, balance, you know, and bring balance into your business and your life. I think leadership for me has been quite lonely, so I like a very small team around me. And here in Dubai, there's just 3 of us. We have Joe Malone Creative Consultancy here in Dubai, and Katrina, myself and my husband are the 3. We're just about to have one more join us to help us. But the things we accomplish together, and you know, we sit every day and it's like, okay, these are the things we need to do today. And we have this colour code system for projects. So green shoots is something that's tiny, but she's growing. Yellow is a light bulb, so it's an idea and crazy. Blue skies is taking something and dreaming, like Zara. I create fragrances for Zara. That is a blue sky, but she started as a little green shoots. And then red is imminent, where everything's together or about to go, and red dot, my little red dot, is launch is on the way. And when we came to Dubai, we had 13 live projects, 2 red dots, and lots of green and blue and yellow. Today, we have almost 12 red dots and red projects, which means they're live and they're moving through. So that's in 4 years with 3 people.
So we've only hit a tip of the iceberg, and the interview is drawing to a close.
Oh, thank you, though.
But I must ask. First of all, we sprayed the perfume at the very beginning, and our studio still smells amazing.
I know, I can still smell it now.
The fact that it's got longevity is amazing. And one thing that you said was you came to Dubai to find your other senses.
Yes.
Have you found them?
We just launched Joe Vodka, and she's only 16. So it's the world's first luxury infused vodka. Okay. So we have yuzu and all rose petals, and each one is a side of my character. So, you know, there's the girl that jumps out the plane, there's the girl that sits on the beach, the artist. So they're all stories of my life. And so I've yet to find sound. Well, actually, when we do speaking engagements, sight. That's on on the table at the moment, and touch. And so, yeah, we're well on the way. I think give me another 18 months and we would have accomplished that. And then I need another mission.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Jo Malone, CBE, thank you so much for your time, for such an inspiring and open interview. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Farah.
Thank you. And
that is the end of the Lovin Dubai show. We're back with you every single weekday morning, same time, same place. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.
Bye.